I am Bob and Roberta Smith. I'm two people in one. And I was inspired to do this reading for you today from my new book that's out with Thames and Hudson by the 1970s, 60s programme Jack and Ori. So I'm going to read from you to you, but I also have here some potted plants with microphones in, and I'm going to read you. But first, I want to remind you exactly the sort of thing that I do. So I'm coming closer to the microphone now. I'm coming closer to the screen, rather. So this is the question I think we need to all ask ourselves, which is, how do you want the world to change after this? At the beginning of the pandemic, I think we thought that was all about key workers and justice on some level, but then after the murder of George Floyd, it really became a question of justice. So that's a painting from the beginning of the pandemic. This is this painting is in the book. How about this? It's a key proposition in the book. The idea is that children learn to speak and picture the world via language, but in so doing they use pictures, and in making pictures we say to the world, how about this? Can I insert this into the world? Does this work? So this propositional question, how about this, is an important idea in the book, and in the book there are 40 how about this suggestions. Now you can reject them or take them on board, be inspired by them, or think I could do better than this. But there are 40 ideas in there which at the beginning of the pandemic I posted on Instagram. In fact, the first 100 days of that very hard lockdown, which it looks like we're re-entering into, I posted an idea a day for people to, while away the time, be inspired, tap into the life force, tap into their artistic DNA. And so this question, how about this, is an important question for the book. And it's because, I firmly believe that art makes children powerful. It makes humanity powerful, it makes everybody powerful. And then these are some of the ideas. It's quite funny when I'm teaching at London Metropolitan University. That term is beginning again, teaching. I'm quite excited about meeting lots of new students. Not so excited about doing it all on Zoom. But anyway, so these are some of the things these are kind of classic cliches of art education, if you like. Some of which are useful, others of which are not so useful. Supersize it, make it crazy, up the ante. Who is it for? Is your studio your thought lab? Are you the first? Art is a human right, and all schools should be art schools. Art makes people powerful. I think there's an image on the Art Car Boot Fair website, me sort of shouting, art makes people powerful. We're going to crush the virus with experimental music. I mean, another thing that I do is that on Tuesday nights at 9 o'clock, we're recording it this evening actually, more Zooming going on. The Apathy Band, my wife Jessica Vorsanger, and a whole host of extraordinary musicians from around the world now, we get together and record a radio show. And in a way, the radio show is a party. It's humanity getting together. And in that sense, our experimental music is a sort of antidote, or at least a riposte to the virus. This is one of the early tryouts for the cover of You Are an Artist, a bit of You Are an Artist memorabilia. There's another one over there. This is a little painting that says, I believe in Michael Rosen. I believe in Michael Rosen. And we painted this every week on Resonance FM. We made a little musical prayer to Michael Rosen. I don't think Michael Rosen has survived COVID-19 because of this painting or that prayer, but it actually did us good in a weird way, thinking about somebody else, a prayer for people who are going through absolute shit at this time. And then Look, Listen, Make Things. That might be a song I might play you later if we have time. And if I said to you art is the antidote to creativity, you might roll your eyes and go, really? But if we thought that creativity was the antidote, everybody would go, well, I think you're right. You know, scientists are creative, doctors are creative, artists are creative. Art is the principal subject in which we teach creativity to children in schools. So art is the antidote. When you make art, you are doing lots of things. You may not be solving the crisis, but you are tapping into something quite fundamental, which is the life force, if you like. You know, I mean, I'm not a spiritual person in any shape or form, but you are, in some sense, tapping into or planning for tomorrow, and that's an important thing to do at the moment. So, you know, the book is all about trying to get everybody in touch with their artistic DNA. And now I'm going to retire to the sofa and read you the section in the book which is about thinking. Okay, so I've got my microphone here. I'm just going to turn that round. I've got my potted plant. I should really put the microphone behind the potted plant, shouldn't I? So you can't see it, just like in Jackanory. And then I've got my book, You Are an Artist. And there's a special deal today. If you click on the link, you'll get, I'm not quite sure the percentage that you'll get off, but you'll get it a little bit, you'll get a slightly better deal than if you were to pop into a shop and buy it. But do support your local bookshops. Anyway, You Are an Artist by Bob and Roberta Smith. And this is the section on thinking. Now, I'm just going to get comfortable. I wasn't, you know, when I was watching Jackanory when I was a kid on the BBC, they had fantastic readers, you know, people like Kenneth Williams, who were brilliant at reading out loud. I don't think I am particularly, but bear with me. If I get comfortable, I'll feel more able, I think. Okay, here we go. Truly abstract thinking. Oh, I need to get more relaxed. I need to be thinking about abstract thinking here. Okay. Truly abstract thinking is impossible. When we think about something, numbers, concepts, and truths. The language we think in is part of the whole thinking process. That's why abstract art is often preoccupied with its own existence. It is itself a language with numbers, concepts, and truths behind it. Cliches, like inspiration exists, but it has to find you working, are true. Thinking is like chewing. Tasty food needs to be in the mouth. I grew up next to a farm right up in the Yorkshire Dales, miles from a library, school, or hospital. I had a favourite cow. Her name was Jack. Jack and I would look each other in the eye. Jack would be chewing. Jack would be breaking down grass. I am sure Jack was contemplating the spotty kid who was gazing at her. That pasture was an art school. The whole world is an art school. To conceive of the world or the universe as an art school is to say that everything requires contemplation. We are all students in a large studio looking at each other's art, and we all contemplate what is to be done. Blank sheets of paper ask us to fill them with visions. When you give a blank sheet of paper to children, you're inviting them to construct their worlds. Blank paper will be filled with voices of the future. For human beings living in caves, raw speech turned into communities of words, which became language. Visions became a world of actions, art, and artifacts. Images occur in our mind's eye while we work and while we dream. Writing down those images or dreams involves translation and may be useful for the Freudian psychoanalyst, but nothing could be more direct than if we were able to paint those images. Some artists have tried this, most famously Salvador Dali. Filmmakers like Louis Buñuel have constructed dreamlike sequences in an attempt to look into the mind's eye. Dali, Buñuel, and more recently David Lynch have tried to depict how the mind works via the image of the dream. But of course we can see the human mind working, thinking and solving problems every time we look at a bridge or get a train or look at a painting or look at any painting that has ever been made. Our problem with Jack the Cow is not that she was not thinking, it is that she could not express herself by making a painting or a building or a bridge. Art is the expression of thought. Jack the Cow, sadly, was not an artist. Stroking a painting is a kind of communication, rather like chewing. Impossible in a museum, but possible at home. I often touch artworks I love. I hold the side of a painting by my mother. She died recently, but we can still talk to each other and exchange ideas. The conversation is not one-sided. She's talking through her images. Touch, smell, taste, aid contemplation and cause revelations. Ask Marcel Proust. Writing this chapter on thinking, I am stroking my chin and I am desperate to smoke a cigar. I stopped smoking cigars 30 years ago. I will go and make myself a strong espresso coffee instead, taking time to grind the coffee and heat the milk to the correct temperature, taking time to think. Making art can be mindless and at times seem pointless, but it is also hard work. Like chewing, it can be revelatory and marvelous. Thinking is ordering, imagining and reimagining, imagining ideas, materials and stuff, objects. Everything needs to be thought about. Like Jack the Cow, chewing and thinking are about me. We all need time to think more. Talking to yourself and engaging in free speculation is critical. I once interviewed the British political cartoonist Steve Bell. He told me he invented the voices for the characters for his cartoons by talking to himself. Talk to yourself out loud when no one can hear you. Even scream or giggle is perhaps the most useful piece of advice there is to offer the creative individual. Talking to yourself can be reportage. Shout out what you see. Report what's happening. Imagine that you are a BBC reporter at a royal wedding or a football commentator. Talk to yourself as post hoc rationalisation. Defend or explain your or others' actions as an advocate, or even better, as a prosecution lawyer. See the world as a story, linking events and narratives. Be inventive as you speak. In the last chapter, I talked about stealing as a metaphor for researching. When speaking out loud, lie outrageously. Lies by their very nature are inventions. Make and shout out your extraordinary plans. And finally, confabulate. Confabulation links the whole imaginative process of intellectual reverie together. It's okay to make things up. That's what artists do. Talking out loud is imaginative and speculative. Do it now. I am speaking out loud as I construct this sentence. Epistemology is the study of knowledge. Philosophers talk about the episteme as a bite-sized unit of knowledge. Epistemology is why we talk about memes as if they were ideas with legs. Ontology is the study of being. I think, therefore I am was René Descartes' great epistemological and ontological statement. It has itself become a meme. It has been adapted and utilised by artists. Barbara Kruger most famously corrupted the meme in the form, I shop, therefore I am. Knowledge crashes into a very human reality in this statement. To say, I shop, therefore I am, is to acknowledge that our thinking selves are synthesized with all aspects of our physical presence, what we do, as well as our identities and our contexts. I know I weigh 12 stone, but only because someone invented the weighing scale and cruelly calibrated it so I could compare myself with others. Weigh yourself. Thinking about your weight may engender body dysmorphia, but like looking in the mirror, it is a confrontation between our intellectual self and our physical self. The great thing about grabbing hold of your innate nature is that you will come into contact with the possibility of altering these relationships creatively through art. The French artist Orlan has gone so far as to alter her physical self in the name of art. In the 1990s, she underwent an operation to insert 2 small horns in her forehead. Orlan's statement was a celebration of her will over the fact of her physical existence. Artists are willful. Art is physical thinking. Thinking can be a very personal thing, a solitary exercise. We don't verbalize all our thoughts, and nor should we. But making art allow those thoughts and ideas that you have decided to express to maturate, evolve, and exist without your presence. Architects have a superpower in that we all live within their ideas. In the 19th century, A.W.N. Pugin, a Catholic architect, put his mind to creating neo-Gothic architecture for the Victorian age. He designed the Houses of Parliament as if they were a loony supercharged cathedral. Why did he do this? Well, in part because he wanted to rectify Henry VIII's dissolution of the monasteries, when the king had asserted himself over the rule of Pope Clement VII in Rome. Pugin saw this as a great crime. The dissolution of the monasteries precipitated the destruction of around 90% of England and Scotland's religious art. In the early 20th century, developers built the house that I live in, adopting a neo-Gothic style. They created mass-produced mullion windows and acres of stained glass to be inserted as decoration in front doors. I live in a house that is a physical and political statement by an angry Catholic architect who lived in Ramsgate, actually. Engineers also enjoy a peculiar superpower. We travel and communicate within their concepts. To go on London Underground is to venture through a treasury of ideas. Designers like Edward Johnson, who designed the Underground's iconic original font, and Harry Beck, who came up with the tube map, injected an outward sense of utopia. The London Underground is a fine example of collaborative thinking by human beings to solve problems over time, with great engineering, great design, great panache, and great art. We need everybody to think. A good way to encourage everyone to think is to make objects, devise events, write plays, create music, speculate about physics and the universe in every way possible. Thinking is an iterative process. To think through ideas can take a lifetime and require steps along the way that are built upon, sometimes by you and sometimes by others. The more of us that can put our minds to a problem, the more likely we are to find a solution. I once decided to stand against a politician in an election because that politician had decided to marginalise the arts in schools. That was Michael Gove. His thinking was that we needed to concentrate the minds of our young people on mathematics, the sciences, and learning to spell in order for them to find a job. My point was that we needed to concentrate young people's minds on the arts and creativity so that they could create jobs. Numerous studies suggest that a broad education is good for society and good for democracy. The MP's constituency was in Surrey Heath, close to Heathrow Airport. I didn't know the area well, so I asked the psychogeographer and writer John Rogers to research and tour the neighbourhood with me. His idea was to use Guy Debord's situationist strategy of the derive to show us the way. John used a simple algorithm to lead us. We were to start walking and turn at the first left, then the second right, then the first left, then the third right, and then repeat the process. As we walked the back alleys and car parks of Surrey Heath, we questioned our preconceptions and challenged our prejudices. At one point, the algorithm directed us to walk up a carriageway of a busy motorway. I said to John, if we follow the algorithm here, we'll probably get hit by a car. He said, don't worry, Bob. Guy Debord's idea is an open concept. We don't have to follow it. We can decide that we've had enough and decide to go and find a cafe and have a cup of tea. And that's what we did. We followed a plan and we ditched a plan. Computers will never decide to go for a cup of tea because they've had enough. I believe in open concepts. Our decision was very human. The algorithm had taken us to places we would never have set out to see. And despite that, I won 274 votes in the election, and Michael Gove won 33,000. He won. The role that derive played in my attempt to unseat a Philistine is a story about how curiosity and research can be governed by chance and arbitrariness. My efforts were unsuccessful, but I had learnt so much. In the 1990s, I interviewed the conceptual artist Nam June Paik about some kitsch ceramic Buddhas he had smashed. I asked him why he had smashed the Buddhas. He said, no meaning. I was impressed by that. The arbitrariness that he afforded himself asserted his humanity. It seemed quite a Buddhist act. There is something illogical and beyond real explanation in some artists' work. When Marcel Duchamp declared a urinal to be a work of art, he was declaring that it was his gift to do so. The urinal is a thought about human beings' conception of themselves in the world. The declaration of a urinal as art is a statement about the pointlessness of a hierarchy of objects and functions. It is common to conceive of thought as guided and rational, but useful thoughts can come from unsolicited events at any time or in any space in unexpected ways. And that's why you should always carry a notebook. And now for my performance for the wonderful Art Car Boot Fair. You should go off and explore the virtual site. I'm going to finish by playing you a song, and thank you very much for watching, if you have been. Art is a human right. Art is a human right. Just like Frida Kahlo stuck underneath that tram, you say, I've had enough of this, man. Art is a human right. Art is a human right. Just like Susan Sontag hanging out in Sarajevo, you say it's all about chiaroscuro. You say art is a human right. Yes, it is. Art is a human right. sitting beside the scene of a crime, the paint box in your hand. You say, art is your human mind. Yeah, art is your human mind. Just like Louis Bourgeois smashing a vase, just like Turner tying himself to the mast. You say, ah, this is human right. Tie yourself to a mast to paint the storm. Yeah, ah, this is human right. Ah, this is human right. Just like Picasso and his painting Guernica. You say it's all black and white. You say, ah, this is human right. Yeah, ah, this is human right. Just like Gustave Courbet, you're standing on the barricades. You're ready for a fight. You say, ah, this is human right. Ah, this is human right. You're sitting beside the scene of a crime with a smile upon your face, sitting beside the scene of some crime, that look upon your face, and your paint box and your video camera. You say, art is your human right. Sing along now. Art is your human right. I can't hear you, Art Car Boot Fair. I can't hear you. The rebellion against the rule of 6 is to sing along. Art is my human right. 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 Bit peculiar doing this in my front room in Ramsgate, but thank you very much for joining me. And have fun at the wonderful Art Car Boot Fair. And thank you to Julian and Karen for organising all this. I don't think it's been easy for them, but well done. Thank you very much.